Tell me if this sounds familiar. Your friend just got their third tattoo. Your coworker is showing off a new sleeve. Your Instagram? A gallery of fresh ink. And here you are, completely blank. Somehow, people think you're the weird one. But what if I told you, staying tattoo-free is actually far more psychologically complex than getting inked? Over 46% of millennials have at least one tattoo. That's almost half your generation. Everywhere you look, someone has inked themselves to express a story, a memory, a part of who they are. And society celebrates it. But almost nobody asks the people who don't get tattoos why they make that choice. And when you dig into it, the reasons are fascinating. They reveal something profound about human psychology, identity, and even how we think about the future. Let's start with the obvious, permanence. But here's the twist. People will sign 30-year mortgages, get married, have children, and yet a tiny ankle tattoo? Too permanent. What? Psychologists call this future self-continuity. Some people literally struggle to imagine themselves as the same person in 20 years. To them, a tattoo is a decision for a stranger who just happens to share their body. Think about it, the skull you loved at 19, would your 45-year-old self even approve? The quote you thought was profound at 22, would it still feel meaningful decades later? For some, tattoos are like leaving notes for someone you might not even recognize. And this isn't rare. Research shows our personalities, values, and preferences can shift dramatically over decades. What feels permanent today might feel wrong tomorrow. Studies also show tattoo-free people often score higher on something called temporal discounting awareness. Fancy term, simple idea. They are exceptionally good at anticipating future regret before it happens. It's not indecision, it's foresight. They're imagining the possibilities, weighing choices, and recognizing that life, and their own identity, will change. And some people have what psychologists call a fluid identity orientation. They see themselves as constantly evolving. They aren't finished figuring out who they are. For them, a tattoo isn't just permanent, it feels like locking in a version of themselves too early. Imagine deciding today that a tiny symbol or phrase represents you, when you know you'll continue growing, learning, and changing tomorrow, next year, or in 10 years. Then there's the social element. Tattoos are permanent, but social perception is constantly shifting. People ask, how will my family react? Will this affect my career? Will others judge me? Those who avoid tattoos often engage in impression management, consciously or unconsciously controlling how others perceive them. Some might call it strategic thinking. Others might call it anxiety. Either way, it's fascinating. A tattoo is permanent, but social approval, that can feel fragile. Another layer is identity foreclosure. This is when someone commits to an identity without fully exploring themselves. Some tattoo-free individuals fear closing doors on future selves. A permanent mark might feel like saying, "This is me, forever." But they're not done discovering who they are. In their minds, keeping their skin unmarked preserves flexibility. It keeps their options open. Life remains exploratory, adaptable, and unfinished. But there's a reason beyond caution or identity that's quieter, subtler, yet deeply powerful. Some people simply value their skin as it came. Not from fear, not from conformity, not from judgment, but from genuine appreciation. Psychologists call this intrinsic identity orientation. They don't need external symbols to define meaning. Their values, their memories, their sense of self, are carried internally. A tattoo isn't necessary. Their identity isn't written on their skin because it already exists inside. Think about friends you know who never got tattoos. Maybe they remember your birthday parties, your favorite books, your inside jokes, with incredible detail. Their connection to moments, to people, to experiences, is vivid and enduring. They don't need ink to prove it. And in some ways, it might make those memories stronger. The absence of an external symbol doesn't mean the absence of meaning. For them, life is experienced, not displayed. Here's the paradox. Our culture tells us tattoos equal depth. Ink is celebrated as a sign of self-expression. Yet some of the most meaningful, thoughtful, and introspective people you'll ever meet have zero tattoos. Their memories, experiences, and connections live fully inside them. Choosing not to mark your body can be a subtle, powerful rebellion. It says, I don't need external validation. I am enough as I am. There's also a philosophical angle. Some people see their tattoo-free skin as a kind of minimalism. They reject the need to express meaning externally. They don't feel compelled to show the world what they value. Their self-expression exists internally, quietly, authentically. It's not avoidance, it's a conscious choice. A statement of simplicity in a world obsessed with visual signals. And yet, this isn't about being better or smarter than someone with tattoos. It's about a different approach to meaning, identity, and self-expression. Tattoos can tell powerful stories, mark milestones, and celebrate identity. But the absence of tattoos can be just as meaningful. It can reflect foresight, adaptability, mindfulness, and internalized values. Here's something often overlooked. The tattoo-free choice can also reflect emotional resilience. People without tattoos often cope with their memories and experiences internally rather than relying on permanent external reminders. They process emotions in a way that is self-contained and reflective. They develop a mental strength that comes from fully inhabiting the present moment, rather than memorializing it on their skin. It's also about the subtle ways society pressures us to conform. Even as tattoos have become mainstream, there's still a cultural narrative that equates ink with depth, rebellion, or creativity. Avoiding tattoos can be a deliberate counterchoice, a rejection of the idea that self-expression must be visible to be real. It's a quiet, almost invisible form of self-assertion. And let's not forget the element of curiosity and personal mystery. People without tattoos often leave more to the imagination. Their stories, beliefs, and milestones aren't immediately visible, inviting deeper connection and dialogue. Choosing to remain unmarked can create space for meaningful conversations, rather than broadcasting personal history on the surface. Finally, there's the idea of intentionality. For many, the choice to avoid tattoos is about living with conscious purpose. Every decision, every action, every memory is carried internally with intention. It's a philosophy that prioritizes mindfulness and reflection over symbolism. Their lives are marked by experiences, not images. Their meaning is lived, not displayed. So whether you're covered in ink, or completely blank, the real question isn't what you choose. It's whether you're choosing consciously, authentically, for yourself. Because at the end of the day, both paths answer the same question. Who am I? And how do I want to show up in the world? If this made you think differently about tattoos, or the lack of them, hit subscribe. And if you want to explore more insights into psychology, human behavior, and how we navigate life, click join to support the channel. It helps us keep making content that challenges the way you see the world.